Come, let us explore the pride trap every meditator needs to overcome. Oops, wrong button. So there was a time when a British comedian gained a great deal of popularity. Excuse me. And this British comedian began exploring a popular form of so-called meditation. This meditation, in name only, was actually a form of concentration that piqued his rigidity and aggression, which is common for concentration. In an interview, he was asked about the world's second most popular spiritual book, the Tao Te Ching, and he did not speak well of it. He said basically, it's an old book or in a different culture at a different time, and it has no bearing on us today. And I heard that, and at one point I was disappointed because I really wanted him to be this really wise guy. But on the other hand, it sounded familiar. And his thinking was like this: I don't understand it, but I'm amazing. Therefore, this must be shit. So I'm going to compile a number of reasons why it's perfectly awesome for me not to understand it and to not put any work into understanding it. Almost 30 years ago, I was first exposed consciously to the Tao Te Ching. Now, I read it because I wanted to be a kung fu master and do supernatural shit, and I hoped that would help me. So I was really disappointed because it's not a kung fu manual, and it's not a metaphysical manual. Um, and when I read a passage, and I'm going to paraphrase horribly, um, on the path of learning, we add to our knowledge every day, or we add to what we know every day. On the path of wisdom, we let go of what we think we know every day. And when I first read that, I was appalled. And I just closed the book and put it away, and it kind of reminded me of Joey Tribbiani on Friends, who when he came to a scary part in his book, he would close the book and put it in the freezer so it couldn't get him. And I kind of felt the same way. And a few years later, I was drawn to it again. And I kept coming up against the limitations of my comprehension. And so I would expose myself to other people who had marinated in the text longer, and I'd meditate and I'd come back to it. And over the process of several decades, my relationship to the book changed. Eventually, I began to understand the rhythm, the patois, the uh, turns of phrases, the overarching themes. And in time, it made sense to me. Let us turn our attention to the concept of the cone. Jesus said, um, no, let me rephrase this. As the Buddha lay dying, as recorded in the Nibbana Sutta, he explained, um, I have taught with an outstretched arm and an open hand, keeping no secrets. When we read the recorded teachings of Bodhidharma, who is credited with bringing Proto-Zen to China, He did not use cones. He did not use riddles. He spoke plainly. But in time, koans developed. And there's two ways of looking at it. So there's an utterance. I don't understand it. What am I to do with it? And one person says, well, look at it deeply, meditate on it. If it still doesn't make sense to you, speak to someone who has greater experience or read the text of someone with greater experience and who might be able to shed some light on it. The other path says this, well, ha ha ha, if I don't understand it, none of you shitheads can understand it. In fact, yes, no one's supposed to understand it. Yes, yes, it is a dynamo, a generator of confounding confusion. Yes, that's it. Because if I can't understand it, neither can you. So, yes, which is humble and which is arrogant. The arrogant path says, if I understand it, it's not worth learning, or if I don't understand it, it's not meant to be understood. Those who are blinded with irrational arrogance, um, lack the flexibility and the enthusiasm to come back to a problem from different angles. Um, I haven't lived with a dog for many years due to my numerous health challenges. I sometimes have gait loss, and if I lose coordination in the presence of a dog, I can step on the doggy's foot and break its arm, and no one wants to hurt a doggy. So because I am the Sultan of Spaz, don't live with dogs. But I used to. And if you give a dog, there's this like what they call an enrichment activity. You put them in you put a fragrant piece of food that they like, and sort of a puzzle box thingy that's designed specifically for dogs to play with and chew on and toss around. And I've never seen a dog spend 3 seconds in someone and say, well, fuck that. I'm going to go lick my genitalia. No, a dog would rather lick the treat than their own crotch. And so they'll come at the toy with different angles and with different strategies. And it is enriching for them. It's good for their brain, and it makes them happier. It's good for their endocrines. And similarly, um, in a passage of the book of Matthew attributed to the Christ, it reads that we are to hunger and thirst for righteousness. And a quote note, I I no longer traverse the Christian path, but that's a wonderful turn of phrase. We are all wired to have a modicum of self-esteem. We're all wired to feel the full spectrum of human emotions, including pride, including arrogance. The question is not, do we sometimes feel pride or arrogance? The question is, are we controlled by it? At the end of the day, are our choices and our utterances and our deeds controlled by pride? And it's simple. The more time we spent in authentic mindfulness and meditation, the less we will be controlled by that which we feel. And I like to use a visual aid, if I might. As we breathe in, we can notice whatever we feel in the moment, even pride. And as we exhale, thanks to our parasympathetic nervous system, we can physically relax and mentally release that pride that we notice during our inhalation. Does that mean the pride will burst like a soap bubble? No, but it will lose its potency, its ability to dominate. Once again, our choices or our utterances or our deeds. And that will give us the freedom to feel, yes, to feel the pride, but to feel the full spectrum, including enthusiasm, including curiosity. Like doggies living with a wise and caring human, Life gives us many enrichment activities. And even though it gives us things with a quick payoff, like a doggy with a bowl of food, it also gives us things to play with. No, not saying there's some big god or goddess or pantheon in control. I'm just saying anthropomorphically, life gives us things. And some are short-term projects and others are long-term projects. And if we give ourselves permission to fail upward, to get less than stellar results, but make distinctions, or at least learn what doesn't work, we can grow, we can evolve to be something more than petulant adults. We can be wise. We can become the people that our dogs already think we are. This concludes our opening lesson. Let's see here. Let me tap button 5. I'm sorry, button 15. It is Qui-Gon Jinn Thursday evening. Come, let us meditate like a Jedi. After approximately 30 seconds of housekeeping, this is Lama Jigme Gyatso of the Buddha Joy Meditation School. For more than 30 years, I've spent about 8 hours a day, almost every day, studying, practicing, mastering, and reverse engineering the teachings and techniques of each school of meditation so that I could become your nerdy, neurodivergent guide to nirvana. Welcome, my friends, to Meditate Like a Jedi, which is made possible due to the generosity of viewers just like you. Now, quite like a bunny, I'm going to try to muck about with Word. So I'm using the latest version of Word on a brand new computer, and I'm having trouble doing some of the tricks I used to do in an older version of Word. So if you have some expertise on the latest version of Word, please reach out to me. I would love your insight. Welcome to the first of 5 mindful crease counting meditations. During each inhalation, let's passively notice mind's antics. And during each exhalation, let us relax into its non-graspable nature. So I'd like to turn to page 14. I'm sorry, button 14. Let's see here. Quick like a bunny, I'm going to muck about with Word. And we're going to do some editing in real time because what would Lama Jigme's live stream be without some editing in real time? Let's see here. There we go. One of the most recognizable archetypes of Dzogchen's great completion stage of Buddhist meditation. Whoops. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and reduce this to 12. And copy. Whoopsie. Copy. And then minimize or delete and see if it fits the page. It doesn't. What about this? Close enough for government work. Let's continue. Is the image depicting a nude woman, the color of a cumulus cloud, sporting in tantric union with a naked man, the hue of the infinite azure sky. So I'm going to add some space in here and delete. Excellent. Here we go. Despite the pearl clutching of Karens, the Catholics get to erect statues of a scrawny naked carpenter being tortured to death. Then yes, the anti-yogis get to display meaningful images of two beautiful people making love. This image is known in English as the All Good Ones sporting in tantric union. In Sanskrit as Samantabhadaram, Samantabhadri, Karamalundara. If you hear something, it's because we're having some windstorms in Southern California. Whoops, that's a boo-boo. And in Tibetan as Kuntu Zangpo, Kuntu Zangmo, Yab Yum. Excuse me. In his commentary to the Essence of Refined Gold, the 14th Dalai Lama of Tibet insisted that each Lama functions as his own sect. Aha. Bearing this in mind, let's explore an explanation of the iconography of this famous or infamous archetype. By the way, allow me to remind you that if at any point at all you have a specific question about Buddhist chanting, Buddhist philosophy, or Buddhist meditation, do not hesitate to type your question in great detail in the chat window. In this day and in this country, one could take literacy for granted. But in days of yore, it was the exception, not the rule. Thus it could come as little surprise. The wind sounds like the ocean, doesn't it? Thus it could come as little surprise that many teachers relied on symbols and archetypes to serve as mnemonic devices with which to remind folks of the teachings. Fortunately, most complex life forms on this planet have evolved to think symbolically, which made such teaching strategies come on, machine, don't be that way. Wow, can't have any problems over here. Which made such a teaching strategy quite effective. The nudity of the couple reminds us that as we inhale, for mindfulness to be truly beneficial, it must be vulnerable, as well as passive, visceral, random, and fleeting. The translucence of Samantabhadra and Samantabhadri depicted in the finer paintings reminds us that as we exhale, for meditation to be truly beneficial, we must physically relax and mentally release. Ooh, here's a notion. Let's move this. This is probably easier. Let's make this 36 and this 12. And let's copy that. And make sure it fits. Let's try this again. Reminds us that as we exhale, for meditation to be truly beneficial. I just realized I made an error in syntax. Here we go. The nudity of the couple reminds us that for mindfulness, to be truly beneficial as we inhale, the translucence of Samantabhadra and Samantabhadri depicted in the finer paintings reminds us that for meditation to be truly beneficial as we exhale, we must physically relax and mentally release. As if that's, whoops, that's an error on my part. Let's go over here and fix this. Okay, let's hit File, Save As. Okay. As of that which we noticed during our previous inhalation, now felt as if it was as non-graspable as a vast empty void. Like the illusion of the infinite azure sky on a bright and beautiful cloudless morn, which although could be tantalizing to the eye, could feel utterly non-graspable to the hand. The beauty of Kuntu Zangpo and Kuntu Zangmo reminds us of the empathy, the source of real beauty. That is the effortless byproduct of noticing and releasing in harmony with our respective passive inhalations and relaxing exhalations. The abandon with which the cloud-colored woman appears to sport in tantric union reminds us of the spontaneity that is tempered by centeredness. Which in turn is symbolized by the stability with which our sky-colored tantric partner, or Vajra throne, sits. Reminding us that the more we authentically practice mindfulness and meditation, the more our choices, utterances, and deeds could flow with the right or effortless flow. the more our choices, utterances, and deeds could flow with the right or effortless effort of love's centered spontaneity. Let us not make the mistake of Yang's religious patriarchy, deifying, worshipping, and supplicating a mere archetype. Instead, let's traverse Yin's path. Of spiritual matriarchy, allowing our practice be inspired by the meaning of this iconography that we could be the peaceful and loving people that our dogs already think we are. And this is why the Buddha taught mindfulness and meditation. Control home. And quick like a bunny, I'm going to turn this into 36 and this into 12. Whoops, wrong button. Again with the wrong button. Wow. Okay. Welcome to the second of 5 mindful crease counting meditations. Again, during our inhalation, we could vulnerably and passively notice mind's antics. And as we exhale, we could relax into its non-graspable nature. Remember, the moment you have a specific question about Buddhist chanting, Buddhist philosophy, or Buddhist meditation, do not hesitate to type your question in great detail in the chat window. A little confused over here. Okay. Welcome to the third of 5 mindful crease counting meditations. Let us return to the iconography of the archetype. First thing I'm going to do is add 4 notations to make chanting easier. Quick reminder, what we do is we chant in a monotone, with the exception of the first and the second to the last syllable of each couplet or triplet. Next thing I'm going to do is prepare a visual template. So this is gonna get messy for a minute or two. Oh, you know what? I should probably move this over yonder. For the sake of efficiency. There we go. This is much better. Okay, this is going to be temporarily messy. Insert, pictures, device, going to pictures, going to Buddhist yoga, going to Kuntu Zangpo, going to form, scrolling down, looking for this one. Okay. Let's see if that fits. It doesn't. Let's see if that fits now. It does. Cool. Now we have our template. Copy. And take off. So I'm going to add a space here because that's just how it's going to have to work. And paste. Oopsie. Try to paste. And see if this fits. It does. Together. One of the most remarkable, take two, one of the most recognizable archetypes of Dzogchens, great completion stage of Buddhist meditation. Is the image depicting a nude woman the color of a cumulus cloud, sporting in tantric union with a naked man the hue of the infinite azure sky? Despite the pro-clutching of Karens of the Catholics get to erect statues of a scrawny naked carpenter being tortured to death. Then yes, the Yati yogis get to display meaningful images of two beautiful people making love. This image is known in English as the all good one sporting on tantric union. In Sanskrit as Samanta Badri Karama Mudra. And in Tibetan is Kuntu Zangpo Kuntu Zangmo Yam Yam. In his commentary to the essence of refined gold, the 14th Dalai Lama of Tibet insisted that each Lama functions as his own sect. Bearing this in mind, let's like, oopsie, got a little too excited. That is weird. Bearing this in mind, let's explore an explanation of the iconography of this famous or infamous archetype. Let's jump back for a second because I have a creeping sensation that it's not going to quite fit. Okay. Welcome to the live stream. Together let's chant. In this day and in this country one could take literacy for granted, but in days of yore it was the exception, not the rule. Thus it could come as little surprise that many teachers relied on symbols and archetypes to serve as mnemonic devices with which to remind folks of the teachings. Come on, my coordination is not great right now. Fortunately, most complex life forms on this planet have evolved to think symbolically, which made such a teaching strategy quite effective. Not sure that's gonna fit. The nudity of the couple reminds us that for mindfulness to be truly beneficial as we inhale, it must be vulnerable as well as passive, visceral, random, and fleeting. The translucence of Samanta Bandra and Samanta Bandri depicted in the fauna paintings. Well, you know, if I'm going to use that phrase, I might as well find an image that's translucent. Bear with me. Okay, insert, pictures, device. I'm looking for, oh boy, this one will do. The translucence of Samanta Bandra and Samanta Bandri depicted in the fauna paintings. reminds us that for meditation to be truly beneficial, as we